What is going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to an episode of Nuggets Today, presented by Fan Arch. I do apologize for the quality. I think if you've been watching the channel for long enough now, you already know that I am at work and I'm just trying to get an episode out for you guys today. So the first thing I want to cover is something that is happening later today, and that is Media Day. Now, this is probably going to air around 10 a.m. Eastern Time, as the episode usually does. So I would assume that in an hour or two after this episode, we will be hearing from just about everybody. Probably, I believe 12. I could be completely wrong, but I would assume that probably 12 a.m. Eastern or 12 Eastern Time. We'll probably start hearing from everybody. Maybe 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But listen, I'm excited. I think that Denver's going into this media day with different hopes, different knowledge. I don't want to say knowledge, different aspirations. I think the aspirations are always a championship, but I think that there's more realistic. This is a more realistic roster to win a championship, and something that I think Denver sort of went into last media day and just the other other seasons, just thinking like it's the same thing over and over. Except last year you lose KCP, or 2 years ago I guess. You lose KCP and you sort of realize, okay, we're just going into the season with the exact same roster, but we brought in Dario Saric, who Denver thought could be a good option for them because he was pretty good a few years ago. But like I said, I think that everybody has championship aspirations, and we're seeing new faces. We're coming into the media day for the first time in a very long time with a different roster, different management, different coaches, a different mindset. I think that everybody's on the same page. I think the chemistry looks like probably the best I think we've seen since the championship, which is only a few years ago now. But I think it looks amazing. I think that not that MPJ lacked spirit and towards his teammates, but I think that for some reason Denver's just treating it like they're treating it completely different. It looks like they're training every single day together. It looks like they're happier with Cam being there. Not that they don't like MPJ, but maybe there was some side thoughts on MPJ that they weren't going to win with him. And like I said, new faces, people like Jonas who are competing for a championship, who realistically have not been on a team to do so. I mean, with the Kings, the Pelicans, he might have, even the Grizzlies, he probably had a decent opportunity, but nothing like this, not playing behind the best center in the NBA. Tim Hardaway Jr., who's coming from, a mid-tier team in the Eastern Conference to a top-tier team in the Western Conference. That's massive. A guy like Bruce Brown, who, I mean, listen, he said he watched almost every Denver Nuggets game since he left the team that he was able to watch. So how could you not want a guy like that in your locker room? I think that this media day is truly going to be a test to hear what obviously the management, obviously the coaches, and the players really have to say about this upcoming season. And that's bringing me to my next topic, is the biggest move this year, or this offseason, I guess, to me, was not a player. It wasn't the trade for Cam Johnson. It was the management. I think that bringing in what does everybody call them, Ben Wallace and Wallace and Tenzer, is really the biggest thing for this offseason. I was listening to the DMVR podcast and hearing what they had to say about it. And, some people think that it was the Val move. Some people think that it was the Cam trade, just because the Cam trade opened up so much cap space for Denver to go out and get other people like Tim Hardaway, like Bruce, make the trade for Val. But when it comes to that trade for Val, Ben Tenzer had a relationship with people in Val's team. So that might have made the trade easier. We don't really know, but I also think that Tenzer's somebody I covered, I think, in the first couple episodes. So if you've been part of this channel for a good amount of time, you already know that I was very high on Ben Tenzer coming in. I think the fact that he dealt with the players' visas was massive for me, in my opinion, on bringing him into the managerial role, coming up from the G League. And that's something I covered. I think that's all I covered for the first couple months of the offseason, because there's nothing going on. Somebody that I did a lot of research on, a guy knows business. He was, he went to law school. He was a guy who I thought about, and at first maybe it didn't make sense, and then you start breaking it down, and it's like, okay, he's been in the system, Denver system, for a while. He's been through the G League. He's been working with players' visas, and then you think about the international players Denver was able to bring in. Obviously Nurkic was there for a while. Jokic was brought in. Saric was brought in. Kampu was brought in. I mean, Fournier even was brought in. So you have all these guys who are internationally, sound, or coming from the international, the Euro game, and Denver's been able to do something with just about all of them. Kampu was a backup point guard on a pretty good team. I mean, He's a guy who came in who you were like, okay, this guy's, cool to watch. You didn't think anything of it. And then he goes out there and gets 12 points per game. And I'm not saying that Tenzer was the reason he came in, but I think Tenzer had something to do with majority of our European signings. And I could be completely wrong. But like I said, I think that this was the biggest thing this offseason. I think that Wallace is more aggressive on that side when it comes to trading. And I also think they made a statement. If you are not what Denver needs you to be and your contract is too much, a.k.a. Jamal Murray, they're not going to hesitate to move on and do something that's going to help the team rather than obviously just the, trust in the players. Not that they don't want the trust, but loyalty is a better word to use there. They're not going to just base everything, well, Jamal's been loyal to us, we've been loyal to him. Yeah, well, his contract is going to be $50 million, and if he's not playing up to par, then you need to move on from him. Even if that means taking a step back at the position, gaining some draft picks and opening up cap space, we saw that what Denver could do with that cap space. Guys like Bruce, guys like Tim Hardaway, those are massive additions for Denver. This next topic I want to cover is coming up on the preseason, obviously, and what I want to see from the preseason. I believe the first game is Saturday, October 4th. I could be wrong. There could be one before that, but I do know we play the Timberwolves October 4th. What I want to see in the preseason, everybody wants to see Duran, and I get it because I do want to see him against, more NBA talent, less summer league talent. But the biggest thing I want to see is Jalen Pickett. I mean, how could you not? Everybody's so high on Jalen Pickett. Everybody wants Jalen Pickett to play, and everybody thinks I'm this big Jalen Pickett hater. I just don't think that he's ready, obviously. I think that you guys all know that. I've seen comments about people saying that he's better than Monte Morris, which he's not, by the way. And I want to see how he plays. I want to see if he's confident enough to shoot the ball. I want to see if he's confident enough to put the ball on the floor, make something happen. I haven't seen anything special from him. Sure, he had a triple-double. That's going to happen here and there. People are going to have those games. Again, I will always go back to this. He had a triple-double. Malachi Flynn put up 50 points in a game. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Jalen Pickett showed that he had potential because he had one triple-double in the league. No. Everybody says that Moses Brown sucks. Everybody says that Bol sucks. But they've had massive games in the NBA too. So you can't sit here and say that, oh, well, I think Pickett's good because I like Pickett and he had one triple-double. Well, I think Bol is good, and Bol's put up games where he's had, 20 and 15? Now, obviously, maybe I'm exaggerating there, and I have to find his best stat line that he's ever put up. But, again, the comment I saw saying that, oh, Pickett's better than Monte Morris, but Bol's on the same level as Najee. No, he is not. No, he's not. Listen, maybe he's not the best player in the world, but that doesn't mean that he's not decent. Maybe Pickett's decent, but Pickett's not good. He's not this guy who's going to make the biggest difference, and if he is, I want to see that in preseason at least. If he can't go out in a preseason game, maybe not against starters, but against bench players, and put up 15 points and 6 rebounds against bench players where he's playing majority of the game, then I don't want to hear all this hype about Jalen Pickett. Listen, maybe I'm a little too tough there, but if I can't see 10 points and 4 or 5 rebounds, then I don't really want him playing, especially in games that mean a lot. That's just my opinion. That's what I want to see in the preseason. I already know what I'm getting from Hunter Tyson. I already know what I'm getting from Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, the other younger guys. I would like to see some Julian Strawther and see if he really can live up to the hype that I hold him to, or the standard I hold him to, which I know isn't technically fair to say. And the last thing I want to cover here is another backup point guard, is Russell Westbrook. Maybe I'm getting my hopes up, but Russ starting in the free agency to me means that Denver still has a chance to go sign him if he really just wants to sign a contract somewhere else. I would like to see him back in Denver for a year, but I would not like to see him playing more than 12 minutes a night with how our rotation looks and the spacing that Denver actually has on the bench this year. I think that would be a huge spacing issue, but I also wouldn't mind seeing him come back to Denver for one more year, try to make one last run in NBA Finals on a team that legitimately has the depth to do so. Last year, he was really the only main player off the bench. You had Watson, who couldn't finish at the rim. You had Strawther, who got hurt towards the end of the year. So maybe Denver brings Russ back. I highly doubt it. I know that there are other teams that were potentially looking at him, and nothing came about that, like the Kings. But I would love to see Russ for one more year in Denver off the bench, playing alongside guys like Tim Hardaway and Julian Strawther. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoy Media Day. I will be listening in. Probably going to base my next episode off of that, depending on if there is anything to cover and anything interesting is said. And I will see you guys next episode. Hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down below if you guys want me to cover anything, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.